All right, welcome everybody. Wall Street Jesus here. Good morning. Another Saturday sweep series. We're off to a much better start this Saturday. So far, so good. The screen is visible. You guys can hear what I'm saying. So we're already off to a better start than last week. A lot of interesting things to go over. Not only we'll recap some of the action we've been seeing not only last week, but even prior weeks, and get a gauge on how some of these names are looking going into next week. We are entering the heart of earnings season. We got the banks done. The banks are interesting. We'll talk about that a little as well. And we'll talk a little bit about navigating through the rest of earnings season. Gets a little tricky here, especially if you don't want to hold through the number, which I'm not a big fan of doing unless it's a runner. And when I was swing trading, that's the extent of me holding any position through earnings would be, a runner I was hoping to get lucky with. But we'll talk about, game plan wise, what we can do, how we can grind it out, make money, maybe get a little lucky through the rest of earnings season. All right. So let's get going here. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been seeing. We were talking a little before we started this webinar how a lot of these names obviously have seen big moves. Okay, my opinion, like I just mentioned a little bit earlier, I think you had the NASDAQ shakeout, okay, where everybody thought there was going to be some massive rotation out of tech, okay, so people started to rotate money out of tech, and what happens is when you get this type of move out of this pullback consolidation period and players don't have enough exposure to the hot names, the high beta names, they need to own them, okay? And the longer this move continues to grind higher without a pullback, what happens? They have to chase. And that's what we've been seeing, plain and simple, okay? They got shook out here, and now they need to get back in. And now even more so, and I'm talking through my broker lenses right now, and that's the way I look at things. When I was managing money, okay, after the Netflix number and this explosion, if you're managing client money and you don't have exposure to Netflix into a quarter like this, you're not going to have a job too long. Okay, so automatically you have, institutions, money managers, advisors, they basically are going to factor in Netflix type numbers into all the high beta and FANG names. So they're going to go to Facebook and they're going to say, okay, we got to own Facebook. We didn't have enough of the Netflix. We have to own Facebook. We can't afford to not have a decent amount of Facebook on our books and have Netflix happen. Okay, now obviously that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what the market does now, I think, quicker than ever. It factors everything in instantly. Anything you and I can see with our own eyes right in front of us, hear about, talk about, the market will instantly factor that in. We just seen it with the whole election. Okay, Trump got elected, the whole Trump trade. Remember that? They bum rush into infrastructure, financials, anything that could have an influence by the Trump election and policies was already getting factored into the market. Now, as we all know, not much of it or any of it has even remotely been close to getting done yet. Okay, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is the market will factor that in. And now with all the dynamics, the machines and everything else, it happens even quicker than ever. Okay, so in my opinion, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing that in flow. We're seeing that in price action. So a lot of names are probably going to grind. You're probably going to see this Facebook. There'll be some intraday pulls, or maybe a 1-2 day pull, and then you'll see buyers come in. The most important thing to understand here is they should be supported, okay? And with the luxury of flow, and you know me, I'm a big fan of flow, when you see these names weak and you see sweepers coming in and attacking that weakness, like I said earlier, that's the cherry on top for the confirmation that that trade is still in play. All right. For example, on Friday, yesterday, we saw that in BABA. Okay. BABA, like a lot of things, got hit early, just normal pullback, and then took a little bit to bottom out. But meanwhile, throughout this bottoming process here, we've seen buyers come in and hit up August calls throughout the period this morning. And Friday wasn't easy because you had expiration and just a choppy session in general. So usually you get that quicker reaction. A lot of things chopped around, and really it was a grind higher throughout the afternoon. But BABA was down like $1.40, $1.50, and ended up poking its head into green, closing down peanuts for the day. We were looking at this before we hit the record button. AAOI, that didn't even last. That thing opened up lower, and you could see here, let me get rid of this 1 second because I can't see it. Opened up lower, and you guys know this name. We've been talking about it. Ton of action for this name, ton of action. Really sharp looking sweepers, and you had that first of the morning pull, and just look at that rip. So, and again, sometimes you're not going to see instantly. You sort of BABA grind. Sometimes it may take a day or two to see that snapback, depending on the pull. But in my opinion, that's the trade. The thing you may have a difficult time with is buying green, okay? And you guys know I'm not a big fan of that, period. But I think if you chase, in other words, if you buy Facebook up on a day up to, and you're playing anything front month, weeklies, even the common, who the hell wants to get caught in a pull? You can get caught in one of those washes, and if you want to use a stop loss, which most of you probably will and should, it's going to get tricky. Okay, so the trick is you want to buy weakness intraday or over the course of a day or two, and take some risk off as they snap back. I wouldn't get greedy either, because you have things ahead now that a lot of balls in the air that we really can't predict. We are in earnings season. So hypothetically, these things could be strong, and you have one of the names in the sector come out and warn or shit the bed earnings-wise, excuse my French, and that's going to have an influence on the sector, okay? May not be a long-term influence on the sector, but if you're in it, again, it's going to sting. All right, so you want to take advantage of what the market's giving right now. And in my opinion, that's buying weakness, especially when flow comes into that weakness, or a name that's seen a lot of flow, because those names will be supported. And you want to take off risk as they push higher. So instead of looking for those pipe dream for 300, 400, 500% returns, you get a quick 20, 30, 40%, on the option side, obviously not on the equity side. On the option side, that's something you have to lock in. All right. If you like the name, and another thing we were talking about earlier, if you like the name and you think they're going to have a blowout quarter, leave a runner. Leave a runner. Okay, because here's the problem too with earnings, and we just saw it with the banks. You just heard me mention, in my opinion, they're factoring all this in already. Now, what's going to happen, by the time they report numbers, okay, you're going to have a move like this. There's a good chance that if the numbers are mediocre or they're not excited enough off the quarter, that they'll be sell the news. I mean, that's just normal. Okay, people will use that as an excuse to lock some in, hope for a pull, and maybe look for a lower entry. We have no idea, okay? And that's what makes earnings such a crapshoot. There's so many different factors and tangibles that go into earnings that there's no way to predict or have an edge on what may happen. I can give each and every one of you the exact quarter Facebook is going to announce, and you still probably won't get the reaction right, right? You know, what did it do up till earnings? What did it do the day of earnings? What did this do in the group off earnings prior to that? There's so many different things. What was the guidance like? I remember I shared this story with you guys once before. This is before I had the steam room and all that. I was on Twitter, and Facebook caught a ton of flow into the quarter, had a strong move into the numbers, and was up huge aftermarket. Okay, they reported the numbers, the stock was up huge. So, make a long story short, a lot of degenerates at the time on Twitter who followed me held positions through earnings, of course. And I went home, ate dinner, I get back on, I pull up the screen, and I see Facebook getting beat up. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? You know, the teenage usage was down in the conference call. And that, all of a sudden, the stock went up from up big to now getting smashed. So you really don't want to be a part of that. Like I said, if you're a part of it in a small way, almost like a lotto in a sense, that's fine. Okay, but you're not going to go too far basing what your P&L performance is going to be off earnings. I can tell you that right now. And a lot of you are aware of that anyway. All right, so that's what I think the trade is. And again, that's right now. That could change. That's the market. Things can change at the snap of a finger, you know, depending on a company reporting or some news event. Anything could happen. But that's what I'm seeing right now, especially out of Flow. Flow has been incredible. They've been hitting names, not only hitting some of these hot tech names, but hitting them hard. I'm not talking about earning speculation. I'm talking about deep in the money players. You know, that type of stuff that I really like to see when the market looks bullish. So, you know, I can't take away a thing off the Flow right now. The Flow's been as good as you could possibly imagine right now. That's solid. Okay. A couple names you can keep an eye on just quickly. You know what I want to do? I'll post it in here. I don't know if everybody on here is from Twitter, but I posted on my private Twitter a link on FinViz. You can screen charts, and I put in a list of names that have seen some flow over the last several weeks. You know, some may be a little extended. You may want to look for a dip. Some may not have gone yet. I'll post it in here. Give me a second. That shouldn't be too complicated. Oh, you know what? I got it right here, I think. Yeah, see? So this is what I did here. In FinViz, you could type in a bunch of symbols, and then this is pretty cool. You get the chart, little information on it. All right, so there's 5 pages on here. Let me see. Can I post it to you guys? All right, the pages are down here in little print. 5 different pages, so you could scroll through and see some of the names that have seen some decent flow over the last couple of weeks. All right, let me post that for you guys in here. Bear with me. Yeah, advertise while you're at it. Look at this. I gotta open this and send to all. That didn't come up a link? You gotta be kidding. I can't do a thing right. But you could get it off my private Twitter, all right, if you guys are interested in it. You'll find some interesting names there. All right, so, and that's basically, you know, the names you could keep an eye on. Like, I'll give you an example. CRM is a name that seems to always catch, especially of late, the last several quarters, bullish activity into numbers. We're seeing buying there again. August, September primarily, and I think it's some weekly, bi-weekly, front-month sweeper activity away from a really nice move. Okay, so basically that's what I'm looking for. It's already, I think, worth a trade. Again, the trick is you don't want to necessarily chase a green day. Like, for example, you know, the action started to come in down here. Okay, that's where the initial activity came in. So you don't want to chase green days when the stock is up a buck or two. Wait for a red day, wait for a pull. And even if you're early, again, the name should be supported that, especially if some extra flow comes in, this thing should see higher prices. So CRM looks good compared to some of the other ones. Again, extended from initial activity, but guys, forget about the initial activity in Techland. There's no such thing right now. If you're looking for just initial activity in Techland, you're going to have to wait a while because they're all gone. So again, an example CRM there. We're seeing some solid earnings flow, okay? Names that have earnings within the next couple of days, week, where you don't have enough room to really navigate. But I'll give you an example. CAT, I day traded this, was a real pain in the neck Friday, but ended up making some money. CAT caught a really good looking sweeper into this weakness. Right into the lows, I think. I think it was right around here, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, it was late. Yeah, right around here. And it was in the money sweep. Again, a sweep not usually you'll see going into earnings season. Usually they're on the speculative side, cheaper premium, out of the money stuff. So somebody's making a serious bet on Caterpillar into the quarter. I think Cat has earnings this coming week, right? Monday, Tuesday. I'll show you the bet there too. Let's go right to that right now. I can't help but jump around. Here's some of the Friday action. All right, here's the Caterpillar sweep. Call it 1,800, July 28th, 99.5 calls. Okay, so you can see deep in the money. Opens a new position, pays $685. That's a $1.2 million sweep. And again, that's the type of sweeper activity I like. Problem is earnings. So if you don't want to take a shot through earnings, I agree with you. What you can do is wait, see what the earnings look like. If there's not much of a reaction, or maybe a little bit of weakness there, you could even wait and see if they come in and hit it again. A lot of times you see a bet like this, and if a stock doesn't do much in the next couple days, week, they'll come right after it again. All right, so we saw that in the AAOI that caught fire. So CAT should be on your screen anyway. Here's another monster, KMX, October 67.5 calls. Another name I traded, and this was the story of my day on Friday. A lot of us in the room on Friday. Caterpillar, I held on to. In other words, I said to myself, I'm going to try to stay loose. I'm not going to be too tight day trading it, and because it was a choppy session Friday, and I'm going to try to milk it. I like the sweep. Like I said, it was a good-looking sweep. I'm going to try to milk it. Maybe I get lucky on this thing and see a nice push. Who knows? Maybe a push to green. It chopped around for so long. I mean, it felt like I was in this thing all damn day. Now, KMX caught a doozy, which is repeat activity. Okay, KMX caught a bunch of activity in this grind, a bunch. And I decided to pull the trigger on the sell side quickly in this thing, and this thing just exploded. You could see the move. Let me pull up the action for you so you can see. October 67.5 calls, almost 3,000 sweeper, 10 o'clock in the morning, so into the early morning weakness, which we were talking about, we like. $1 million plus sweep on top of a ton of other action in the name. So that's at 10 in the morning here, okay? And you can see, powerful move. I sold quickly into that rip. Had a little pull here and then just exploded into the afternoon and closed. Now, here's the action in KMX. And by the way, I think Chanos, one of his top short positions was KMX. I don't know if he's still short. Anybody knows Chanos still short? So here's the KMX activity just here on 6/28. That's June 28th. Look at this multiple activity here. 3 sweepers, a $400,000 block. $400,000 block. 3 sweepers, a 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 $4 August, 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 and October sweeper down here for a $500,000 plus. All right, that was at 62 and change on 628. But you can see it's been a grind. 628 was right around this range here. And just a small, grind every day higher, and then caught that action on yesterday morning. Again, more quality action, KMX. What else do we have? Here's another bet that if this didn't have earnings, I'd be screaming at every member of the steam room to swing. RL caught two sweepers on Friday. August 11th, 75 calls for 266. All right, so that's a $665,000 sweeper there. Did that come first? Yeah, that came first, a little before 12:30. And then here catches another 1,300 plus August 75 call sweeper. That's another 400 grand. So you could see 1226, 1251, boom, boom. But they have earnings. I think they have earnings August. So the good thing about it, you have time to navigate it. You know what I mean? You could try to catch the grind if you so choose. This is what it looks like on the daily. Trying to get over this, and had a decent reaction too. You can see it right here, pretty obvious on the chart. Boom, consolidation, boom with the other sweep, and then based out the rest of the afternoon. All right, closed up $1.12. So another name to keep on our screens. And you can see there might be some decent upside here. Gets over this hump, get up into the mid 80s. But like I said, if you're going to hold these things for any length, you're going to have to. Earnings are in August, or early August. CL caught a good-looking sweep, one of the few post-earning sweepers. 2,500, August 25th, 75 calls, paid 79 cents, about a $200,000 sweep there. And what was decent about this name, this is in the group that's been pretty washed out of late. You can see here, they really hit these things over the head here. Had earnings, stock was down, but actually this came in later in the day. Another name, by the way, that I sold quickly because it came in a little late in the rally, so I didn't think it had that much further to go. So it was a nice quick trade, but sold it early, and it just kept going. So this came in, what is that, 146. Yeah, so that's right here. You can see it on the chart. Yeah, a lot of these good-looking sweeps, you could see the reaction on the chart right here. And, I mean, look at this beauty move. So, guys, and for anybody who's new, and I'm going to sound like a salesman here, but if you can day trade the equity, there's a lot of value in this stuff, okay? I recommend not being robotic. Try to find your own style in this sense. But if you're looking for minimal risk and you're not concerned about taking, the small losses, small gains, scratch trades, and can take advantage of day trading the equity, that's where, in my opinion, the biggest edge is in this stuff. Because, again, not every name is going to have this type of reaction, but if you limit your downside, and raise stops, I know people who I try to use it myself, I don't use it enough, an ATR to ride some winners, okay? Or even if you're looking to just scalp. But sweepers change and provide momentum. Just simply put, that's what they do. I mean, if you ask me, first word that comes to your head when I hear sweeper is momentum, okay? And that's why you guys know I love sweepers into weakness, because they can change the momentum. You know, you can catch that stock down a buck that catches, you know, multiple sweeper activity into weakness and ride that name up into sometimes green. You know, so if you can day trade the equity, you should definitely take a peek and try to develop something on your own as far as on the day trade end. Where people get in trouble, in my opinion, day trading, in general, they try to be too robotic. You know what I mean? They try to follow somebody else's style or what somebody else is playing, or they get frustrated when they need to pick and choose what names they want to day trade, and the one they chose didn't go. The one they left out exploded. That happens, guys. That happens. It's all part of the game. But over the long run, you know, my style in particular, I'll give you exactly what my day-to-day in this game looks like. Pretty cut and dry, simple. I'm going to have situations where, you know, I'll get in off some sweeper activity into day trade, you know, throughout the day, and I'll have some small winners, small losers, scratch trades, and there's nothing there. I may have 3 consecutive days of that. But there'll be that one day where there's early weakness in the morning, hypothetically, sweeper activity comes bum rushing in, and I happen to catch 3 really nice winners that made my month. So the scratch trades, you know, the commissions, I don't even think about. Like, you know, people were asking me, well, what about the commission? That's not even on my radar. You know, because, like I said, you catch a CL or a KMX, all right, and that's the one you chose to write an ATR on or let it go, or you catch a rumor, how many times that happens where chatter will come into a name. You know, that's what sets up your whole week and month. You know, you can't expect to hit that or that type of, you know, those type of winners every single play you make. It's just not going to, nothing in this game is going to work like that, whether you're swing trading or day trading or position trading. You know, it's about getting paid on your big winners. And if you ask me, a lot has to do with luck. You know, you got to be fortunate. You got to be fortunate if you're swing trading with the market conditions. You know, you could be more selective and stick to the stronger activity, and that'll probably help. But there's still luck that, you know what I mean? There's still luck that has to factor in. Some of my biggest winners intraday, I'm not going to lie to you, by accident, I catch them. Where they don't even give me an opportunity to sell, where they just exploded. You know, one time I day traded a name, I swear to you, I probably would have scalped. Make a long story short, the name halted, and, you know, they announced that they put themselves up for sale, and I scored on it. You know, if I didn't get lucky off that, I probably scalped the thing, and it halts an hour later after I'm out of it. I got lucky. But, you know, that's all part of the game. So if you could day trade the equity, there's a lot of value in flow because it tells you where the money is and provides a lot of momentum. And again, swing traders, you can take advantage of that too. It's just a different way to play it. All right, so I started rambling about that. I don't even know how I got into that. But KMX was a nice one. CL was a nice one. RL, terrific activity there. 2 sweepers. Caterpillar, hefty sweep into earnings. Here's one that I played that did nothing. Grub. Here's another name like the CRM that I think has some capabilities. They've been hitting this name. They've been hitting this name for quite a bit. You know, has its moves, gets a nice little rally going. This was a gap up. They hit it before earnings. And now it's been, they hit it down here. Now it's consolidating. And this, I think it was twice this week, Friday being the second time into weakness, they hit this thing, this grub. So, where is it? Right here. So they bought 1,000 August 50s for $1.15, $115,000 bet. You know, not a bad bet for grub. So again, if it lines up, if you're eyeing grub, you had a nice day of weakness Friday if you're looking to swing it up to earnings. Again, all this action, guys, in my opinion, has nothing to do with predicting earnings. Trust me. Okay? Listen, sometimes the action is so aggressive, so sharp, and they have blowout quarters and the stocks explode. I get it. But you get in the habit of trading earnings flow and trying to make money off earnings, you're going to end up a loser. Okay? If you played every single one, if you played every single solid earnings bet, I think with the proper money management, you will end up profitable. Sounds crazy, right? You will end up profitable. The problem is you're going to pick and choose which ones you want. You're not going to play every single one. All right, so you're basing a lot of it on luck, and the truth of the matter is when there's events, earnings, the Fed, any of that crap, there's a lot of hedging going on, a lot of stock replacement going on. You know, the probability of that occurring goes up dramatically. So you try to stay away from that as far as your bread and butter of trading is concerned, and you'll be okay. All right, and here's one of the BABA sweeps. August 150s, 645, $500,000 there. They hit a couple different lines. They did some rolling out too. You can see they hit it early, 9:49 in the morning was that sweep. All right, so that's some of Friday's action. I know we talked to you guys a lot about names. Let me hear some of your names. I wanted to leave enough time. All right, let me get some of your names here. You can start firing away. And this way, that's probably the best way to go over some of this stuff. All right, let me get going here. Hold on. Can I, oh, that moved. All right. All right, so Jim is asking about Amazon, Google, NVIDIA. Amazon, really interesting stuff, okay? We saw this midweek. There's somebody out there, there's a player syndicate out there who was sweeping leaps. What was the month? I think it was September of 2018, okay? He did it in Amazon. He did it, I think, in was it Facebook? I don't know if Facebook, Google, high beta names, FANG names, okay? So Amazon saw some of that flow, also saw some other activity there. Jim, the only advice I can give you, you know, as far as how I would play it, is the same way I would play a BABA or any of that other stuff. Friday's your perfect example. Let's say you saw some weakness there, you don't want to chase up here. I don't blame you after a move like this. Friday, you got that pull. That would be the place I would start to look. I wouldn't go crazy though, Jim. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't try to get too excited here. I think the easy money is gone. You know what I mean? So I would look to buy into the weakness Friday, and you get that snapback. Let's say Tuesday, this thing's at new highs. Take some risk off. You know what I mean? Like I was explaining in the BABA earlier. That's the way I would play it. All right, so Friday was the opportunity. I don't know if you took a stab there into the weakness, but I would look. I do think, Jim, we're going to see on an intraday basis, we're going to see some washes. You know what I mean? So like hypothetically, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll see a sell program come in, some profit taking, and you can look to take advantage of that. I think we're going to see that shake some people out on the way of this grind. But in my opinion, until we get some of the big names reporting here, as far as techs are concerned, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see this little grind, slow grind higher with some washes in between. You look to take advantage of the washes rather than chase green because you don't know when that wash is going to come, and you know you'd rather avoid that. There you go. So you got spreads you like. That's a solid way to play it. You know, and then this way you make a little money. You want to hold through the quarter. If you think, maybe I could get lucky, you can look to take advantage of that. What else we got? Micron. I mean, is Micron a name we talk about every single day, week? It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Micron, in my opinion, the best activity is I call them the David Tepper sweepers, because I think it's him or somebody affiliated with him, just like the Bill Miller stuff. And but they are out in Jan. They were playing Januaries. Some other heavy duty Octobers. Now there. Don't get me wrong. There's other flow around that in August and front month and weeklies and all that stuff. The sharpest stuff has been further out. So I think Micron is due for a move here. I just, I don't know how much of a move. Now, when do they report? They gave some guidance already, didn't they? Micron's been, the action there has been incredible. And you got to understand, guys, Micron, they reported recently, right, Dave? Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good thing. And again, I think a lot of these names, like a Micron, the edge is in the weakness, guys. I know now that the weakness is not here, you guys don't want to hear it, but that's where I think the play is. So in other words, let's say you want to own Micron and you want to go out to December or Jan. Maybe you can catch a big move here. The weakness, I think, is where the sweet spot entry is. Everywhere here, everywhere else, a lot of people complain about it. You get that premium drain. There's a lot of interest in Micron. This is nothing new. I show you guys this all the time. Look at the box. You see that box there? That's the initial activity in Micron. That's where they first started, those David Tepper sweepers. That's where they first started to tattoo this thing. And now, up here, look what's going on. So, again, it's off the weakness is where I think the opportunity is in Micron. Every day. And Jim is saying sweepers every day in Micron. Jim is a member. He sees it. I mean, there's Micron sweeps literally every day. What other names we got? Hold on. It scrolled away from me. Starbucks. That's an interesting name, Fraser. Starbucks has seen some action. And here's what I'm going to say about Starbucks. It always sees earnings action. Always. So it doesn't excite me. Starbucks is one of those names that every quarter sees some call buying. I don't know the exact reasons. I would be lying to you if I did. Okay, but a lot of popular names see call buying around earnings, but Starbucks always does. So I wouldn't put too much into the call buying that we're seeing now. I made this comment in the room this week about Starbucks. I like Starbucks sweepers when it doesn't catch earnings. Seriously, that's when I'll get excited about Starbucks. But when it catches earnings, it's tough to get excited. But there has been bull flow. You could see some buying over here. Nothing major, but some buying. Could you look at CMG? CMG caught a put buyer, but that was into the weakness. Hold on. I got to get this thing out of my way. Okay. This is the daily on CMG. Yeah. So this is CMG. CMG caught a buyer not before the pull. It was into the pull. I mean, a put buyer. Hold on. This thing's in my way. I got to get this out of here. There we go. So, yeah, let me do this to you so you can see it. Can you see it on the top there? Not this one here. That expired. This one here. September 340s. $670,000 sweep. That was just on 7/19. So the stock was what? 370. What? What was the stock? Am I reading that right? The stock was 373? Oh my God! When did I don't follow CMG, so that's why I didn't even realize. You're telling me this thing's $30 lower off that sweep? It felt like that sweep was a day ago. My God. Oh my God. Yeah, so a rat's falling out of the ceiling. I guess that's a good reason why. Yeah, so I don't have an opinion. To answer your question, I do not have an opinion on CMG. That was the only thing I wanted to share with you, is that I did see a put sweeper, a hefty one, just a couple days ago, September 340s, when the stock was 373 and the stock is 345 now. That guy's ready to go in the money. Susie's saying she bought those September 340s and paid $7. Are you kidding me? What'd they close at Friday, Susie? $166? What? Oh, 16? Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, so that's nuts. But yeah, that's other than that, I really don't have an opinion. Me personally, if you're talking about dip buying or something like that, I'm not going near this thing. There's no reason for me to go near this thing. You know, it doesn't really see a lot of flow. That's what made that put buyer stick out like a sore thumb. You know, CMG once in a blue moon will catch a sweeper, if that. So I really don't have much of an opinion, but I wanted to just share that put sweeper with you. Nice job, Susie. Gotta get her in here. What else we got? XLF. Oh, let's talk about banks a little on the XLF question. You heard me mention Citigroup, right? That's their favorite bank, by far. Not even close. JP Morgan has had some flow, but Citigroup has been their baby over the last 2 months, couple months. I got the box here. This is where they started attacking off the consolidation. Had a nice move, consolidated, another nice move. It's getting to that place again. Now, I will say this. The last couple days, there's been some Citigroup buying, okay? I'm waiting for that go-to sweep. You know what I mean? Or that steam to come in. That's what I would be waiting for. Now, does it come is a whole other question. You know, there's a chance this thing turns around, bounces, and they never show up. That's the risk you take with these things when you're waiting for the goods. But it has a tendency to catch, you know, that really sharp-looking sweeper or that multiple attack type action before she starts to heat up. That's what started to happen here. That may happen here. And I like this consolidation here. I do like that. I was telling members, it kind of reminds me of First Solar. First Solar, similar thing. They destroyed calls on First Solar, this whole move higher. Okay? Then you went into this lengthy consolidation. All right? And the same thing happened. This, you know, some individual orders. There was a call buyer. It came early. Call buyer here, call buyer here. So they were initially underwater for a couple days, but then the activity started to heat up again. You know, so that's kind of what I'm looking at in Citi. Now, XLF as a whole, I'm sure Citi goes, you know, the whole XLF, Bank of America, JP Morgan, you know, Goldman, me personally, I would wait for flow, even though Goldman's a great option to trade options with. I get it. Goldman hasn't seen a ton of flow. But if Goldman does catch a sweep, it's a go. It can move. All right, so what I think happened is, again, you had, remember, the rotation out of tech into the financials, right? That was already happening. As soon as the retail guy out there was hearing that and following that, these things go into consolidation and tech viciously turns around. Okay? So I think the opposite is going to happen, where you see when tech cools down, you're going to see some money come into fins. And you're on the right path. The time to start looking and paying attention is now. You understand? Not after this move happens. You know, that's the way I like buying, you know, out of consolidations. You know, and that's the advantage in, again, the sweepers. Because what the sweepers will signal is there a high probability of momentum coming into that underlying? So that's what I would look for. I would look for the Citigroup action to heat up, or a really good looking sweep out of there, and or any of the other financials, and they're in a decent spot. So yeah, I would keep an eye on them for now, and look for the activity to heat up. Yes, but it's worth the risk of missing that initial spot, catching the low in this consolidation, and waiting for that, in my opinion. Especially with options, because time, listen, if you're playing common, if you're playing equity, you could start nibbling. You know what I mean? If you're trading options, time is so important. Your entry is so important. So, a lot of times it's worth the wait. All right, what other names we got? NVIDIA. Again, NVIDIA, same thing, falls into the BABA, Amazon category. If you ever get a pull intraday, see some sweepers there, that's a spot where you can hit it. And, sometimes you don't even need to swing trade these things. These things move enough in a day where, you can flip them. But I think this continues. I think you get this grind, you know what I mean? This methodical grind with some intraday washes, maybe a wash a day or two, up till we see some of the big guys report numbers. Which is close. You got some names, like I know, like Salesforce is out in August, so it gives you a little leeway there. You can buy weakness, and that trade, you can look for that trade for a good, couple of weeks. Some of the things that come sooner, makes it a little more difficult. So yeah, NVIDIA, same thing. I would look to buy, if I see sweepers into weakness, that's where I would look for an entry. But just for a trade, just for a trade, not an earnings play. Guys, here's the thing, okay? I'm a little different than a lot of the traders on Twitter, and the reason being is, they get all excited here, okay? And I get it. It's hard to fight the excitement, but I train myself not to get excited. Like, this is what excites me. You understand? When sentiment gets drained out, and then I see sweepers start to come in, that excites me. Up here, I can't get excited. Again, you can still trade them and make money, but the risk reward up here, I can't get excited. So I don't want to sound like a wet blanket on some of these things, but I'm just, that's just me. What other names? Here, we got some biotechs. Okay. CLVS, that caught a sweeper on Friday. I don't think it was anything big. Let me see. CLVS. I don't even know if it hit the board. Did it? No, it didn't hit the board. I would have to find that or private Twitter search, which I could do. Hold on. There was a small sweep in CLVS. I'm not the biggest fan of biotechs, the individual names. Here's the sweep. So little guy, 445, August 90s. He paid 510. 445, August 90s. Yeah. Well, the good thing is you got a little, coming off a little pull here. But I don't know. Yeah, does it have any data due or anything like that? I'm not a biotech guy. I have no idea. If you told me this was a tech name and it caught that sweep off this pull, I say, yeah, you can probably get a trade out of it. But I don't know anything about the story. Here's what I know. Okay, this is a little bit better. XBI, okay, that's the ETF. So that gives you a general idea, right? Where am I? XBI. Here's the action on 7/5. Really nice action. Really nice action. So you had a sweeper August 83s. That was 642 grand. That's a big time sweep. You got another $600,000 block there. Same thing, the 83s. They tattooed the living daylights out of that line. Then 728, $80, and there was a little sweep there too that didn't hit the board. Same line. 728, so that's July 28th, 80s. That was XBI, that's on 7.5. That was somewhere in this little consolidation here. Where was it? 7.5. Yeah, right here. So starting to come out of that consolidation. All right, but point being, you got some hefty buying that came into XBI, and that's a good sign for biotech. You know, the individual names, you really, you got to do your homework, and if you, in other words, use the wise guy activity as confirmation to what you already know. Don't go solely off flow, because we don't know the story in these biotechs. They could have data reporting, FDA approval. Some of the names, you had some big names that caught flow, some smaller names. A couple guys actually, SRPT had a nice hit there. There was some action there, but that had news, right? Oh, earnings that had earnings. What's that? VRTX. That's another one. This thing caught VRTX. I think this is some. Caught a couple of them. They're pretty good in this VRTX. Here it is. On 7/10, August 150s. 7/10. Right here. Look at this. August 150s. The stock's 163 now. The stock was 128. Wow. Man. What'd they have? They have some FDA data or something come out? Must have, right? Oh, I think I did hear this, VRTX. They had data, right? See, listen, I know why you guys like these biotechs, okay? Trust me. I know why you like them. Just, if you play them where whatever you put into the calls, you're willing to lose, and you treat them like that, you're fine, So basically the VRTX, SRPT, here's one I like. One of the few biotechs that I do like. INSEE. You guys know this name, right? The Baker Brothers play. They've been incredible in this INSEE. Incredible. For as long as I'm watching and paying attention to wise guy activity, INCY, they've been unbelievable in this name. Again, this is not something recent either. They've been hitting it up all the way from the start of 2016, literally. So this whole move. Now, what we saw, the recent action in INCY, they hit September's twice. Over here into this pull, they hit September's and they hit some weeklies that expired that week. They cashed. Then off this pull, they hit September's again. So you got some nice consolidation. Again, they're September's. They're not next week. They're September's. So keep that in mind. But you got some nice consolidation here on this INSEE. If they hit this thing, they're rare. They don't come in, you don't see INSEE sweepers as often as you would like. But if they hit this thing anytime soon, that would be incredible, an incredible signal, a solid confirmation that she may be in play. Other than that, you had the bigger ones, Gilead. I can't believe my eyes. Gilead is actually moving higher. Gilead catching some flow. The Celgenes of the world catching flow. They've been on fire, though. They've been on fire. So the answer to your question is biotech looks good. And the thing that impresses me the most is that XBI caught the flow. So, and they've been August. All right, but biotech's been strong. What else? Qualcomm. That's a great name, Jim, huh? They tattooed the living shit out of this Qualcomm the last couple of days. Okay, now it's something you could listen. There's two ways you could play Qualcomm. You could probably look for a trade. I think you still got to give yourself time. They played some Septembers. There was some September flow that came in. Um, but the flow that has everybody talking is this. Where is it? June 2018. So June, a year out, basically. The $70 calls. And they destroyed them. Look at these. I mean, $600,000 sweep, $400,000 sweep, 3.4 million. They just destroyed it. Here was the action that came in Friday morning, September's. That was into some further weakness. I think it was lower again, wasn't it? Yeah, because a couple of people actually made a play on this Qualcomm in the morning. I didn't even see. Did it bounce? Yeah, grinded higher. So into this weakness, September sweeper. So that's the two ways to play it. You know what I mean? September's, at the least, you give yourself some time there. I don't necessarily think you have to be in a rush. You might be able to piece your way in. In other words, put on a little, see how it plays out over a couple of days, a week. Maybe you get a little more weakness, some flow, give you a little better of an entry. Or you could just take a small stab and, you got September's. You don't have to worry about it. Again, options have some big advantages. Okay, there's a ton of disadvantages. But you got some big advantages in that, you can only, if you're willing to do it, you can only lose what you put into an option. Can't get any worse than that. And I think there's a lot of stuff out there, okay, especially when a market's overextended or you're buying, heavy blood and you need time. I think that strategy is a solid strategy. Put in what you're willing to lose. That basically is your stop loss. Stop already counting how much money you're going to make and that you won't be happy. You're not going to make enough money. And, worry about your risk instead. And this way you don't have to stress these things out. So many traders, they put too much stress on themselves. They're playing over their head. I see it day trading too. I see people stopping themselves out. One little red bar, you know what I mean, on a 1 minute, and you got traders getting skittish, worrying about that stock's not going their way. You got to relax, and if you're that skittish, you got to learn to size down. All right, and I think Qualcomm is a perfect one for that. I think you go out to September, you put in what you're willing, what you want to risk, and worst comes to worst, you can always add. You can always add. If it looks better, looks like it's bottoming out, for example, let's say it's starting to build a base down here, and they keep coming after it, that would be even more of a positive sign. So you can size up. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you're going to trade options, you gotta take advantage of the benefits of options, because there's a lot of disadvantages to trading options. It's a tough game. Like stop losses. I don't know how some of you guys do it. How do you put a stop loss? Yeah, maybe on certain names. Maybe Bank of America calls, you can stop yourself out. Yeah, you got people trading Priceline trying to put a stop loss. Those things, I feel like I'm in a boiler room chop shop. They get like a $3 rip in that spread. So yeah, Qualcomm, big time action, further out, some September action as well. And if they keep coming, that would be a great sign. DVAX, nothing that caught my eye, Pete. That sounds like a biotech. Is that a biotech? Just to make sure, I'm assuming it may not be. Yeah. I might have seen action a while ago, but nothing really, nothing that caught my eye recent. Let's see what other names. You guys will probably refresh my memory on some names. Gilead, we spoke about. AMD earnings. I told you guys about AMD. I'm almost hoping that the quarter is a non-event. And I'll tell you what, they're definitely chasing something big. They're speculating on something big in AMD. Okay? I don't know if it's earnings. I'm hoping it's not. It doesn't have to be this quarter. They rolled a lot of stuff out to October. Okay? So if AMD has a so-so reaction off earnings or even a little pull, we've seen the pull in AMD, you remember, I think it gives you guys and members and even day traders another opportunity to play this thing because they are positioning on the speculative end, but are positioning for a lot higher prices. You know, I'm not talking about the 14, the 15s. We're seeing some 20s, some 22s. Again, they're further out, but you know, something to keep in the back of your head on this AMD. So I'm hoping the quarter's blah, or you know, just nothing dramatic. I'm hoping it's nothing huge, and we can continue to play this thing. But yeah, the flow's been solid in AMD. This past week, a lot of rolling out. It actually started the week prior, but a lot of rolling out. And in simple English, if you guys are wondering what that means, AMD has seen flow throughout this whole move, and basically whatever, you know, some of their positions they're taking, they're closing, like July's, August, they've closed and they've pushed out to later in the year for more time. X, AKS Steel, right? I mean, X has been, I think, in my opinion, a good trade. Choppy, but we've been talking about that every Saturday. I wouldn't chase green ever in X. I don't care if there's flow in it or not, at this point especially. But it's done its job. You know, it's done its job. It saw more activity this past week, X. I don't know what's going on with the whole Trump tariff thing. I have no idea. But in my opinion, X already, you know, the trade was there. It was August. They started targeting. That was at lower prices. Yeah, the trade you could have bought into red. You had ample opportunities to trade around it, right? Selling to green, those rip days. As long as you didn't chase those rip days, you would have done okay in X. Hasn't been anything incredible, but you know, you would have done okay. You know, at this point, yeah, you're leaving partials for runners here. You know, that's my opinion. As far as starting a new initial positions, that's a tough call. You know, again, maybe on a pull, but I wouldn't be chasing higher prices. And you're gonna have earnings there too. When's the earnings are gonna be are gonna get in the way here, right? When's earnings? That should be coming Wednesday. So there you go. So at this point, you should have, you know, at the most, unless you're a complete degenerate, some runners from that initial position. You know, when they started buying it, have some runners going into earnings. JD, yeah, JD is in, again, that Baba, rest of them category. JD, ton of action. Here you go again. Initial activity started down here. You guys remember? I think we started the sweep series down there when they first started annihilating JD calls. Huge move. Some nice pulls. They bought into every pullback in this name. So I think same thing. I think you're going to see that grind into earnings. You know, barring any horrible earnings within the group of tech and all that stuff. And, you know, you could still maybe get loose on this thing. They have huge September and Jan positions in open interest. I mean, huge. Whatever they bought here, they ended up rolling out into September and added more. And then they've had Jans from even earlier than that. So they are all in already in this JD, and we started to see flow. This was actually one of my solid day trade for me this week. They got aggressive in Baba and JD almost simultaneously, and had a nice move. So yeah, I think JD still has more upside. You got earnings to navigate around, and weakness. Again, weakness. I would look to buy weakness for a trade there. You know what is another name that's been moving nice? There's so many of them. Cuervo. You guys, I don't know if you remember, we were talking about that activity. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Semi-play, starting to get loose a little here. Let's see where they hit this. The reason I'm bringing it up, they hit it a couple times, if you remember. One of the reasons why we spoke about why the action looked good. All right, so they bought on 7/5 August 70s. That's 400,000 plus sweeper there. And then basically a week later, they paid up. Stock was $3 higher, and they hit November 75s for over 400 grand there. And there was another smaller sweep that didn't even hit the board. So again, that multiple activity, they did pay up though. So what was that initial activity? Was where is that? Oh, 64 on 7/5. Yeah, so here. Look at that spot. See that? You don't like that spot? I mean, come on. That's what I like. Look, right, wash, complete washout. Here's where the sweeper action starts. You know what I mean? Changing trend. And then now, you're seeing action on the way up. I wouldn't chase here. Same thing, if you're looking for just a trade, the sweet spot's gone. You would look for something like this to buy into and then try to flip it into green. But, again, it's all about the sweet spot, man. That's when you're trading off flow and sweeper activity as a swing trader, you're going to learn one way or the other. Maybe the hard way, or you can acknowledge it early and it's the easy way. The bulk of your money, okay, where you're going to make I hate to use the word easy money. I got to find a better term than that. But the big money you make is going to come from these spots. They don't always pan out, but the big winners, the easiest trades, the sweet spots, they all come from this. Again, it's that change in trend. And it doesn't have to be this. It could be sideways action. Like, you guys remember UPS? Remember we were talking about UPS? This consolidation here? And they started hitting this thing right at the tail end of this consolidation, and lo and behold, grind it out. FedEx, that was before, same thing, right out. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, down trends per se. Some decent consolidation where you don't see any activity, and then all of a sudden the activity starts to heat up. That's the goods. What do we got? VMC. That has earnings too. That was an awesome day trade for me. There were a couple nice ones. VMC caught some big time action, but you have earnings there. When's earnings, Jim, on that VMC? Is that that should be coming, right? I remember thinking it was coming on that Vulcan Materials. But yeah, oh, you're not sure? Yeah, I remember talking about it. But they hit it off this pull here. There was some buying a little earlier that they were underwater on, but there was heavy activity here, and was a nice day trade. But again, that was the spot, and I think you have to get out before earnings and leave a piece. It's a shame, but it's earnings season. Hold on, some other guys are saying, Napor, what are you saying? You said, but was no hit the board. I don't know what that means. August 9th, Vulcan. Oh, so you got some time. Why did I think it was? I thought it was sooner than that. That's not too bad. August 9th, right? What do you got? Another week or so? Anyway, I wouldn't chase it though. No, You know what I mean? I wouldn't chase it. Nipur saying how certain stock option. I'm sorry, Nipur. Yeah, okay, that's a good question. I assume everybody is a member and everybody knows. Nipur is asking why sometimes I say action didn't hit the board. The reason why is the board basically is a scan, okay? A scanner. It's going to pick up on aggressive activity, size activity, but I'm watching myself, I don't use a scan. I use my eyeballs. I'm looking at the flow every day, day in, day out. I'm just tape reading, basically, looking at the overall flow. So, for example, sweepers, and the reason why we follow sweepers so closely, it's an aggressive bet. A lot of times it's a sneaky bet. It starts off in a sneaky way. And that action is not big enough for the scan to pick up. But I see it. Okay? So when I see that stuff, I post it. I'll give you an example. See these here? These didn't hit the board. You got this small phase September sweeper, Netflix sweeper. These didn't hit the board. But this is the filter tab in the trading room. You will see it here because I manually push it out. You know what I mean? And the benefit to that is not to trade these little sweepers, but they will get your eyes on a name a lot of times before that big order does come in and hit scans. You understand? I'm trying to think of a good example of that. Yeah, I think, what was it, JD? It might have been JD this week, where there were a couple small sweeps, okay, and CRM too. That was another one. A couple small sweeps came in, and we already saw BABA heating up with flow. We saw some small sweeps come into JD, so we were ready to put on that JD trade even before we seen a big order there. You know, we were anticipating that big order coming. So stuff like that, you know, it helps pick up on something that may materialize a little bit earlier. Okay, because you got to understand, and I don't know, Nipur, if you're familiar, I am not screening for unusual activity. I am not screening for size activity. That's not what excites us. We're looking for aggressive activity. We're looking for sneaky activity. The sneakier, the more aggressive, the better. You know, let that big activity come in later, let everybody get excited later, and that provides us the cushion. So that's what I mean by that. George is asking about AAP, another solid day trade. Last week, they hit action Thursday. Hold on, I'll pull it up for you. Really nice looking sweep too. Nothing crazy, but decent. 7-7. Yeah, so right here, this was the order. Sweeper, $145,000 sweep, $100 calls. They were in the money, and that's what I like. They were July's, though. They're expired. You can see here, you had other action, but this is blocks. This is a small September block. So this was the only thing we've seen. This actually expired, but was a solid day trade. Came in at $101 on, I think it was Thursday morning, George. So it was, yeah, here. And had a nice rip. And then it looks like it had some nice follow through. I didn't even see that yesterday. But those are gone now, George. You know, they're expired. What else? Twitter. Interesting name. Twitter, let me tell you with Twitter. Every single morning, okay, out of this little flaggish thing right here area, there's been sweepers every single morning at the opening bell on Twitter, literally every morning. And then they chill out and the stock would die down, but every morning the whole way up. But you guys, like a lot of these things, they're just playing the move into earnings. I don't think this tells us anything about the quarter. Now, listen, Twitter may report a blowout, okay? And you're going to have people who follow, option flow like I do, boast how, the Twitter call buyers knew it. It's just going to be coincidence. There's Twitter call buyers into a quarter, and they were disasters. They're playing these sweepers, in my opinion. They're looking to play the run up into the quarter. You have some further out stuff like Jan calls and stuff like that, where players are looking to get exposure in the name. But mostly the aggressive activity, they were looking to play this grind into earnings. So yeah, Kohu, that was a great name. Had a nice move last week, and chatter surfaced. So we finally found out the reason why they swept this name. You remember we were talking about this name last week as a name to watch off that sneaky sweeper activity that didn't hit the board, by the way, in the par. But we were talking about it last Saturday. That was here. Had a strong move. Chatter came out that Keys, I don't even know who Keys is. Let's see. These guys were looking at him, possibly buy him out. So now the news is out there, and once we get the reason why, again, may just be me, I get less excited. You understand? So that's the one negative, I would say. If you're already in, you have a cushion, you're looking for it to go higher, that's fine. I'm saying as far as looking to buy up here, I wouldn't do that, especially now that the news is out there, public information. I like when we don't know the catalyst. That's where the juice is. When we don't know the catalyst, we don't have a clue. A lot of people are the opposite. A lot of guys I know are the opposite. They like to buy stuff with a known catalyst, right? You hear that all the time. I like to buy stuff where I got to rack my brain and I still can't figure out why they're buying it. Because even if there is no catalyst, they're buying it for a reason. We saw that in the ILG, right? We had no idea why they were buying this thing. No idea. Nobody could even concoct a story of why this thing was getting bought with two hands. AAOI, we saw action there. Tech was in bad shape when they started buying this AAOI. This thing wasn't running. This thing was dead. Tech was rolling over. And you had sweepers coming after this thing like they had tomorrow's newspaper. And then, lo and behold, they come out with guidance that was extraordinary. So I like like I said, when I don't want any noise. I want it quiet. The more quiet, the better. Once the news or the chatter comes out, that's where I like to rein it in. I'm trying to, even day trading wise, I'm the same way. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say Yelp too. Yelp is a name to keep an eye on. Yelp a lot of times will catch sweeper activity and chatter. Okay. I'll see sweepers coming into Yelp. If I don't hear any chatter across Squawk, or we got Mikey in the room who provides a lot of quality input as far as chatter out there and stuff like that. If I don't see Mikey posting anything as far as rumors are concerned, I'll get in, and as soon as he posts rumors or I hear rumors and you get that little spike, I look to sell into it. Once the rumor's out, I don't want to be a part of it. Again, I want to make this point, unless it catches activity again. You know what I mean? Unless it catches activity after that, real activity. then you can start to look at it again. If that makes sense. John saying, hey Jay, can you look at Baidu buyers on 720? Should we be looking for some weekly active futures? Baidu caught action, John, on Thursday and some yesterday, right? Let me see. Baidu. I don't know if they were sweepers. I don't really trade Baidu. So Baidu, this guy, what the hell is this guy at 177? That's small though. When's that, June? Jesus. Jan's. Jan 220s, is that the, John, is that the line you're talking about? That's probably right. I honestly, John, I think you got the same thing going on there that you're probably gonna have in the other China names. Here's the thing, John. You gotta be careful with this Baidu chasing. Try not to chase. You probably know, right, John? This is a tough name. It catches so many longs on chasing in this thing. Now, you know, it may rip. It does look different. Oh, perfect. Perfect. So that's what I'm saying. I think this could be played just like the other ones on any intraday dip, or you get a couple day dip. You already said you went in, you timed it well, so perfect. You played the last dip. But Baba's notorious. Baba was too. Baidu is notorious for getting people to chase the breakout and catching them. Listen, maybe this time is different, right? Maybe this time is different, but you still want to try to buy off the pole if you can. Win was the same way, and then it got loose. So maybe it is different. How's Win been looking? They buy every dip in Win too. Well, it looks okay. MGM, ton of flow there. Didn't MGM have news? Oh, added to the S&P something? MGM flow every day. I hate trading that name. I never make money on that MGM. I gave up. But there's been some flow on MGM. Let's see. There was so many good-looking names off that last poll. You know, it's spilled milk. I hate talking about it, but MGM, yeah, look at this. Non-stop flow there. Non-stop flow in that MGM. What other names you guys got? So we got the Win, MGM, they all look good. Monster Beverage, I don't see any. I haven't seen anything in Monster Beverage. I'm trying to rattle off names off the top of my head. Jim is saying Apache. Apache caught that action that morning. What a rip that had. That I sold way too early. I haven't seen any action since then in that Apache. Tesla. What do we see in Tesla? Did we see anything in Tesla? Let me see something. Tesla, they play a lot of weekly shits too. Hold on. I'm still waiting for a good-looking Tesla sweep, like a real one. July, those expired. Oh, this one rolled out. Yeah, Tesla, still waiting for a good-looking sweep in that Tesla. Wow, it's at a critical spot too, right? Nice little consolidation here. Well, we'll keep an eye on Tesla sweepers without a doubt. When's earnings in Tesla, Jordan? Does it have a date yet on that Tesla? Or is it like Win? You got to guess. Daryl saying FCAU. That's Chrysler, right, Daryl? That had flow. Hold on. And I think they bought a little bit on the pullback too. Daimler Chrysler. That had big flow, if I remember correctly. Not the biggest mover, but over time she can. August 12s. Yeah, basically right around these levels. 1176, 1197, 1166, 1149. So they're in August 12s. And you got a nice pull there on Friday if you're interested, Daryl. We don't trade this name too much because she's slow. You know what I mean, Daryl? It's a slow name. Now, I will add this, though. I remember them loading. Oh, here, look. That's why I have these boxes. Otherwise, I forget the timing on these things. You see this box here? I said the same thing about this FCAU back here, okay? They started buying it. Let me trace it back so you get an idea. But there was enough time there. That was the benefit to it this time over here. They started buying this FCAU, and then they were underwater. I mean, they just kept coming and coming and coming nonstop. Did a whole lot of nothing, and they had enough time on their calls, obviously, and then just exploded. Exploded. These, you don't have as much time, so that's why I'm not too excited about it. Because this catches earnings, I guess, Daryl? It probably catches earnings, right? So it could be a play into that. Otherwise, she's not that big of a mover. You know what I mean? But if anything, you got the pull Friday. I think you got your spot if you're looking to take a shot. You got your spot Friday if you're looking to take a shot. August 2nd, Jordan, is Tesla? All right. So you might see a little short covering into earnings there. Delta Airlines, yeah, there's been flow. Airlines are a pain in the rear end. There's been flow. There's been flow in AAL, UAL, all of them, and now you got that recent pull. The most amount of flows in the AAL. Delta, though, had flow. UAL individual orders had one good-looking one. Was looking good till this. I don't know if she expired yet. I think they were August, though. But airlines are tough. But you got your pullback here. You know what I mean? You got your pullback, so you're looking at the right time. Put it that way. Like this Delta, yeah, this is the problem with buying the grind and hoping for a lot. You know, you always hear me talk about that because it's happened to me so many times throughout my career. I see it happen to people over and over and over again. They get this, let's say they buy here, and they're in the green, they got profits, but they want more, and then you get that inevitable pull. Now you're done. Right? Anything you have a month out, you're done. So better to wait for this, and like you're doing right now, start to look now. You know what I mean? So I would pay attention to the flow now a little more closely than the flow throughout this grind, if that makes sense. Yeah, so without a doubt. And, you know, it's something similar we're seeing. This is a good example, guys. We're seeing this in tech, okay? And this is a good example of what to be careful about. But you have earnings, so that's pretty much good to guide the outcome. You know what I mean? But in other words, you could have taken advantage of these intraday dips, and in the high beta tech names, they're even more. There's bigger ranges to take advantage of. So you could buy the weakness and then sell into the quick rip. But if you're looking for something you want to hold over the course of months, you know, a month or two, and you're looking for that big return, you gotta look at it and say, what's more likely? You know, this thing going a lot higher before a wash, or the wash coming before this thing heading higher. And that's, you know, that's where you weigh your risk reward. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of buying stuff I want to swing trade. You know what I mean? Longer term, not weeklies or bi-weeklies or stuff I want to swing trade a couple of months out. I'm not a big fan of buying at the highs of a grind like this. What other names? iRobot. I hardly ever see action in that iRobot. Ever. I hardly ever see action in that. But Frank, if I do, I'll mention it on one of these webinars, because now that you've mentioned it, I'll keep an eye on it. If anything, I'll see a small sweep, but I haven't even seen that. I'm trying to scroll back here because I skipped some of you, and I feel bad about that. Hold on. Yeah, so here's some of the stuff. Here's another thing I find an issue with a lot of people, and a lot of members too. I guess you option players, if you trade equity, okay, another huge benefit to following the flow and wise guy sweepers, names like this. A lot of option players don't or won't play a name like this because they're not liquid enough. The stock is liquid. I don't play, we don't play anything where the equity is not liquid, but the options aren't liquid. There's not a lot of action, and understandable. I mean, the only way to play these type of names is if you put in, again, what you're willing to lose. That's your stop loss. Then who cares? Okay. But you miss names like this that catch some nice action and have some strong moves. I mean, this is a semi name, and you can see it's been a hot semi name. There's a lot of names like this. TER, they nailed the lows in this thing. Big time action too. They nailed the lows. Look at this move. I'm going off the list. There's so many, so many names on here. Here's another name that's up that needs a breather, Jan Danks. Ton of action. Ton. Started back here. It took a little breather here. They started hitting it again. Now you got this big gap up sideways. They're hitting it here. Novembers, though. They're hitting Novembers. So you could keep an eye on this name, let it breathe a little bit. You see some action here. Again, sweepers could give us a heads up if we see some steam, meaning we see that aggressive activity, multiple sweepers come in, that this thing maybe is ready to bust. But heavy-duty action in this Jan Danks. We see with the Netflix, they just continue to buy this gap up. A lot of it rolling out and up, but the sweepers just didn't stop. But yeah, so Jan Danks, worth keeping on your screen there. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with that name. What else? The Qualcomm we went over. Avgo, these names have been tremendous. Avgo, you heard me mention it on Twitter several times throughout this whole move. A gorgeous sweeper nailed the exact low on this thing. And, size action, size call spreads, this whole trip up. This is Broadcom. They're going to have earnings too eventually, but you had a dip there Friday. Another name was this ADSK, nowhere near the size. A couple small sweepers in this ADSK. Nice move. Breather here. May still have more upside. That's ADSK. Adobe, you guys know that name, right? There's been some small sweeper activity and put selling in this name. Got really hot. I'm looking off this list. I threw a lot of these. That link I sent you guys, or you could get off my my Twitter, has a lot of these names in here. So take a peek. NCLH, that's their favorite cruise line. They buy the dip in this thing every time. Every time. They've been buying dips for a while in this thing. Here in this, recently it was a bull risk reversal that opened in this NCLH. So starting to push out of there a little bit. That looks good. STX, this a tech name that is off the pavement here. Caught a hefty sweep, then some smaller activity that followed after it. Was a fantastic day trade off that hefty sweep, I remember. But just be careful, earnings. This thing shit the bed off earnings last time, so be careful. What else is there? Procter Gamble caught some activity. I day traded that. Pete Najarian bailed me out. This thing, I was almost ready to pull the plug. I'll show you. See, I told you. Sometimes it's about getting lucky. But here's the thing, guys. When you have a stop, okay, you don't have to stay that tight. If you're staying that tight, again, you're playing too big. Okay, there's no reason you should be panicky, because for the most part, these things don't fall out of bed. You know, a lot of times they'll have an initial reaction and they'll just fade and consolidate. Okay, so you keep your stop. Don't worry about, in other words, if you're day trading, a stock pops 20 or 30 cents after you buy it, right? You contemplated taking it, you didn't take it, and now, whatchamacallit, and now it's pulling back on you. You don't have to panic out of it. You know, if you want to raise your stop from where you were originally thinking of getting stopped, you want to raise your stop a bit, fine. But, you know, you got to give it a legitimate chance to, you know, gain some steam. And this one I got a little lucky with, because this I stood in longer than I normally would. And a lot of these things I did Friday because it was so choppy. You know, there was just not a lot of juice. This thing did a lot of GOTS, and then all of a sudden, Pete Najarian bailed me out. Good old Pete Najarian. That's another thing. You see Dr. J pump a lot of the stuff our eyes are on early. Here's a good-looking little techie. Caught the action with Kohu and has been grinding higher. This UCTT. Anybody know this name? Semi Equipment. But yeah, with the Kohu, caught some action, almost holding hands with the Kohu. Same, every time they swept Kohu, they swept this UCTT. Why? I have no idea. Maybe they do the same thing. You know, maybe UCTT is a target as well. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on UCTT yet. You know, higher levels now, but something you can keep an eye on. Can you talk about Square? Sure, Mario. Square's a monster. Monster. Square, one of the better order flow we've seen over the past couple of months has been in Square. If you want an example of aggressive activity, okay, the stuff that I look for and the stuff I try to show members what to look for, the definition would be the action in Square. They just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And see, like for example, the Micron, right? We see the Micron every day is a sweeper, okay? And that's been going on for a long time. When a name like Square starts seeing activity like that, you have to look to get involved at the early stages of that. You know? That's your edge. Yeah, I'm giving the comparison to Micron. Now, Micron, obviously, you know, the edge is nowhere near as sharp as it was when that activity just started to stem up. And the same thing in Square now, let's be honest. You know, this thing has been an animal. I mean, an animal. Square, December sweepers, last seen on 7/10 when the stock was 23.5 and they went in the money because they don't care. They'll lay wood all day long when they're real. So that was on 7/10. Look at that. Okay. Consolidation, December sweepers. Does it make sense? I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but does it make sense that when you see activity off consolidation as opposed to seeing activity come in up here? You know, that's the edge. And this isn't a name that has seen activity. For example, earlier, there was same type of activity, even more aggressive, in Square for the first time. For the first time. You know, first signs of aggressive activity in Square. Down here. You know, but then here you get a breather. The activity lightened up. And then all of a sudden, you get two missile jobs. Boom, boom. I mean, that's for Square. Those are legitimate sweeps right there. Yeah, that's not, this dude's not speculating. He's not buying a $23 stock, and he's not buying the December 30s for cheap. He's just trying to utilize leverage and take a position in Square. Went out to December, time, in the money, high delta, and away she goes. Here's the Jan accent. Back in June, Jan 30s. Back in June, those were Julys. Back June 5th, Jan 26th. Back the end of May, look at this guy. December 20s. Look at this right here. Just look at this right here. 523. $522, right here. You see what those sweeps look like? Look at that. Can you guys make that out on the screen, hopefully? Hold on. December 19th, when the stock was 21 and change. $730,000 sweeper, $433,000 sweeper. Then they come back 2 days later, right? That's when the stock was 21 and change. The stock is up a bit. This guy comes, hits the Decembers for 800 grand. And she never stopped. And that's why you get this type of reaction. Yeah, George. You know why, George, though? You know why? Because they're real, those are real bets. You know what I mean? It's not speculation and shit like that. A lot of times they're institutions. They're the, as we call them, the Sharpies. Sharpies, they lay wood. They don't play cheap shit. You know, when they're confident that something's going to go, they're not afraid to lay wood. They want to make sure they get paid when it goes. And they're just utilizing options for leverage. Jim, be good, brother. Always a pleasure. Enjoy the weekend. Yes, and Aaron Judge the beast, even though the Yankees don't look so hot. But yeah, anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? Yeah, I could talk this shit all day, but anybody have any questions as far as, I know there's a lot of members, private Twitter members. Anybody have any questions? Flow, you know, what maybe they're having issues and trying to look for, or what activity will suit them best, or stuff like that. Anybody have any questions on the flow? Jim, is the channel screen? No, these are custom channels. That's not Bollinger. I use it, I don't really use it. I use it for day trading purposes sometimes, if I make a play on the market or stuff like that. if it's on the lower end of the channel, I feel more comfortable. I'll stay away when it's on the higher end and stuff like that. If it gets out of there, you know what I mean? Chuck saying, when do I take puts seriously? Good question, Chuck. Never. Nah, I'm just kidding. When the flow starts to change, you know what I mean? When the flow starts to change. Because how am I supposed to know if the player, in other words, I can see a block of puts and that individual who placed that order could be more bullish than I am. Right? He might have just tattooed SPY on the long side and bought a $500,000 block of puts, which is peanuts, to hedge. So when I'll take puts seriously is when I see the aggressive call sweeper activity that we're seeing turn to aggressive put sweeper activity. That's when I'll take notice. And that doesn't mean I'm going to short, but that's going to give me an idea that the climate is changing. And then we see where we go from there. You know what I mean? For example, pre-election, I've used this example several times. We saw the flow change. The flow went sour. We were starting to see some put sweepers. We were seeing a lack of call buying. We were seeing that. So basically, that tells me to take it easy and wait for the flow, signs for the flow to change bullish again. If I'm a swing trader, that's what I'd be looking for. And the signs came literally 2 days before the bottom. I don't know if I could go that far back. Oh, you know what I could do? Hold on. I think it's VXX. Let me see if I can find this without, whoops. How do I move this thing out of the way? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I think it was, yeah, right around here, was it? I just put it all to put so I could narrow it down. Otherwise, I'd be scrolling November. Yeah, the beginning of November. So that should be around there. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here's what went on then. And I'm just giving you an example here so you get an idea of the flow changing. In other words, it can't be over the course of one day. You know what I mean? It's going to be over the course of days that I see that shift. So what happened was through the month of October, we started to see put sweepers get aggressive. Okay? We saw, even more important, lack of call buying, lack of aggressive call buying. Okay? So that tells me the market is in a different state right now. And make a long story short, for the flow from being bearish, all of a sudden, we started to see the flow shift. There was VXX call buying and UVXY call buying, okay, which is bearish market. We started to see, at the start of November, VXX put buying. Okay, so you see, like November 2nd, there's a huge put buyer. Okay, that's one put buyer. All right, whatever, no big deal. November 3rd, another big put buyer. Okay, November 4th, they tattoo VXX puts. Okay, so now just look at what goes on here. And, and by the way, this is the best way to go back and understand what to look for when it happens again. All right, so here we are. Let me blow it up so you guys can see it crystal clear. See right here? That's the start of November, right? And that's a breakdown, right? Breakdown, everybody screaming breakdown. Into the lows on this day, we saw the first size VXX put buyer. The next day, market's lower again. What do we see? More VXX put buying, right? Another big one. Then the next day, market opens up, goes lower again. What do we see that day? They tattoo VXX puts. So right there, okay, right there, that was confirmation that the sharp money out there, even though price and sentiment were on the opposite side, the smart money was playing the other side. They were taking the other side. They were positioning for a rally, while everybody else is thinking market breakdown, Trump election, Armageddon. Okay? And not only that, that's just one example of what was going on in the market. Another thing I remember vividly, IWM was where the put sweepers were hitting. They were hitting IWM puts hard in size, okay? All of a sudden, we see IWM call sweeper activity come in with the VIX put activity. Okay, there was selective buying in like Apple and names like that. So that told us to, rather than getting bearish when everybody else is getting bearish, start looking for longs. Or at the least, it would have saved you from getting short here while everyone was getting short into the election. Okay? And then you had this monster squeeze. Now, mind you, this monster squeeze wasn't on the election. This was before the election, the market squeezed. And then you remember the futures caved overnight? But then when you walked in by the opening bell, there was nothing there. And the market was rallying. We saw UVXY. It would take time to go back, but I would show you that too. The same exact thing we saw in UVXY. Call buying, go to put buying, just like this. So all the signs were there. You know what I mean? So that's what I would be looking for to answer your question on the flip side. Okay, I would be looking for a shift in the flow. And even more importantly, I don't really pay attention to the put buying here, okay, because we're going to see some put buying, right? It's protection, hedging, like you said. The call buying tells me more. You understand? If there is a lack of aggressive call buying, that's going to raise a red flag. Not that the market may crash, but that's telling me that the sharp money out there is not finding anything to play on the long side. So that's how I read sentiment. Again, it's not about the individual order. Everyone gets tied up when you're looking for, especially sentiment purposes. One order means nothing. It means nothing. One order can get your eyes on something or a thesis or a name, but you want confirmation. And again, aggressive activity is that confirmation. When they keep coming after something, they're doing it for a reason. You know, it's showing confidence. I remember on CNBC, we were laughing. We were cracking up because it was pretty funny at the time. They were talking about buying VIX. I'm dead serious. They were talking about buying VIX. It was a good investment idea, I kid you not, to buy VIX into the election. And at the same time, as the CNBC is telling the riffraff to do that, we're seeing aggressive VIX put buying from the smart money. All right, so that's, again, I could have gave you a simple answer, but there is no simple answer. In other words, there's not one alert that's going to go off that's going to sound an alarm. You know what I mean? There's not going to be one SPY put buyer that sounds an alarm. You hear about some guys buying VIX calls every day, and they've lost money. You want to see the overall flow start to change, but more importantly, I would need to see the call buying stop. I mean, right now they're buying calls hand over fist. So there's a good chance that the put buying, whatever put buying we do see, is protection. Some may be legitimate bets, individually selective, especially at the earnings season. And a lot of times you'll see the board, you see all the green, it'll be all red. Oh, by the way, I just noticed another name we didn't go over. Splunk. SPLK. That's a name to keep an eye on. One issue with the Splunk. This is an issue with a lot of these things now, but here's the issue. One, the majority of the activity in Splunk looks like earnings-related activity, okay? Out of the money stuff and things like that. But there was a couple decent bets. More importantly, they initially bought this thing at 56. That was the real bet, by the way. Right here. You see it here? Hold on. This line. So you can see September 57.5 calls when the stock was a little under 57. That was on 7/7. And now you can see they're paying up, which is a bullish sign, but I wanted to make it clear that, the stock is $5 higher than where that initial activity came in. But that's almost everything now, guys. That's almost everything. The good thing is you had a little breather here, so you may breathe a little bit, and you could possibly look for an entry. And again, maybe you get a little bit of a grind into earnings. Yeah, CNBC is entertainment. Exactly, Chris. Yeah, listen, there's anybody who tries to predict, you know what I mean? When you hear predictions, that's the first word that should pop into your head is entertainment. Nobody can predict. You understand? Nobody can predict, especially a year out, 6 months. How do people know what the hell's going to go on? So yeah, CNBC, it's a great sentiment indicator because, like I said, when you have them talking on CNBC and they're all on the same page and they're bearish and the flow's bullish, oh my God. Hold on to your hat. UPS is reporting as well. Seen anything? Well, UPS had a good amount of flow. The only thing, it's higher now. UPS, they started hitting in this box here. So, and the FedEx. FedEx in this box, July 200s, they were annihilating. Well, that was back then. July's expired now. So, yeah, UPS had flow, but again, I don't know. If you're asking me, do I think their earnings are going to be good? I don't know. All right, guys. So we're all good. Anybody have any last-minute questions? Nipur, what are you saying? I heard from Cycle will be bearish from July. And Nipur, I just mentioned that. I don't pay attention to any of that because anytime I paid attention to that stuff, it cost me money. Now it's pretty simple. I block out all the noise. My eyeballs are on sweeper flow, day in, day out, all day long. I look at sentiment stuff because sentiment and flow together is a deadly, deadly indicator. And I block out any noise. And what I categorize as noise, predictions, what other traders are saying. I don't pay attention to all that. If my signals are there, what I have confidence in, I don't care. I hope everybody's gloomy. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming by on a Saturday. I really do appreciate everybody coming by. Basically, before you guys go, because a couple of you guys are asking, if you go to wallstreetjesus.com, it's simple, wallstreetjesus.com. We got a ton of stuff on there. You could find out about the subscription membership packages. Okay, you could join the free community. Here we're offering 50% off the first month. That is for this room here. You get access to all of this. I go on during market hours all day, live audio, video. So basically, as the action's coming in, I'm telling you exactly my thoughts on it. You know, what is more for a day trade, what's a swing trade, what's a real aggressive order, what's not really anything to take seriously. So I'm sharing that on audio and video all day long. We have post-market webinars and recaps as well. So that's the premium package. You get all this here. Also, you will get included the private Twitter feed. All right, the private Twitter feed is all the alerts that come into the room. You know, with a little commentary, open interest changes, some sentiment charts. You're just not getting, you know, the live audio, video, traders sharing strategies, all that stuff. So, you know, listen, it's more costly to take the premium package, but if you're looking to develop a strategy, I suggest that's the route you take, even initially. So you get a feel of how, you know, a style you become comfortable with. That's the most important thing. All right. But if, again, you're looking to take a more affordable route, or you already have a strategy and you're looking just for flow for sentiment reasons, an indicator or whatever purpose, we offer private Twitter in itself. Okay. You go to wallstreetjesus.com, scroll to the bottom. What is it? $59.99 a month, and you get just the private Twitter feed. Okay. So, and if you have any questions, yeah, Chris, hit up. Hold on. Email, did you get that? I don't even see if you got that, Chris. But Seth at sanglucci.com, say you spoke to me, you attended a webinar, and you told me to email him and tell him I told you to hook you up with something good for the annual if you're interested in that. We do from time to time. Sometimes we promote it. We have nothing now, but tell him I told you to ask him about that. All right. So, and other than that, the promotion during the Saturday Sweep Series is 50% off the first month, and then back to $225. Also, there's a Wise Guys Revealed course where you get 1 month free to the room. That's basically a lot of information on sweepers, flow, why it's important, what I look for, a checklist I go through in my head before I look to take a trade. Lucci talks about how he utilizes flow. A lot of psychology stuff that Lucci pays attention to. A lot of info there. So, again, $4.99 for that, and you get a month to the Steam room as well. All right, and like I said, the private Twitter, you got to scroll to the bottom. You just put your handle in here, and then fill out the information, and that's $59.99 a month. All right, if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me. Hit me up on Twitter, or you can email Seth. I sent out that email address. He'll answer all your questions. All right, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Enjoy. Good luck next week during earnings. I'll talk to you guys during the week.